Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Ryan, and today I'm joined by
Ted.
Eric Stave.
And today we're looking to Styx Shards of Darkness for inspiration for our next character build.
Jump down to the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So recently, Ryan had brought to our attention, what is it, Styx?
Styx is so it's
Shards of Darkness?
Yeah, so it's a video game that's coming out. It looks fucking fantastic. Like, it's one of those games that I've seen, I'm like, that game makes me wish I'm into console gaming or still followed up with console gaming. When I was in college at UR, it's around junior year, we had this really cool assignment to design the cover art for a video game. So I came up with this concept called Sneak. It was about a goblin who basically used stealth, subterfuge, and traps to overcome obstacles rather than out and out fighting things. Styx is a goblin that uses a subterfuge and guile and traps to overcome things and rather than fighting things.
So what you're saying is somebody stole your idea?
Well, I mean, they executed 1,000 times better, and it looks way cooler than, because, like, you know,
They stole my idea if I would have done it really well.
Yeah, exactly. Because before I was thinking of it more of like as a puzzler game, but like there is an element of he can assassinate people in their backs, or jump on their back and like stab the crap out of them, or like stab them through the visor of their helms and things like that. So he does really badass stunts. He's foul-mouthed, and there's great like little pop culture references throughout the gameplays. Yeah,
Fucking rock troll. They got a fucking rock troll.
Cave troll, but yeah.
Or cave troll, yeah.
Yes, watching the trailer was pretty cool. You can be like, oh, well, that's from this, and that's from this.
Yeah. And like the mechanics for him being able to go in shadows, like, so he has this like cool ornate dagger with glyphs along the side of it, and when he's running through the shadows, like it lights up to show that like he's hidden kind of thing. Like it's just a visual game cue to know. But like, yeah, you can like hide in boxes and pull people in boxes and murder them inside of like crates or whatever. So it's just fantastic.
And other times he's pulling out acid to dissolve the bodies.
Or you have to hide the bodies, or the guards become more aware. Like, so it's cool. The lore of the world seems cool. Like, goblins really aren't a regular thing. Like, he's an anomaly being a goblin, so they don't really exist. He's like a metamorphosized orc, apparently.
Okay.
So orcs are a thing in the world, but goblins aren't in this game world. Or
at least they weren't.
Yeah, they weren't. So
They're clearly a thing now.
for race, Styx is clearly a goblin.
He's a goblin.
He is definitely a goblin.
Page 119 of your trusty Volo's guide.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool because, you know, the goblins in Volo's Guide have an ability that I think is really good for the Styx character, and that's Fury the Small, right? Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yes, when you damage a creature with an attack or spell and the creature size is larger than yours, you can cause the attack or spell to deal extra damage to the creature. The extra damage equals your level. Once you use this trait, you can't use it again until you finish a short and long rest.
So that's a good ability. And so the problem with this kind of character and is like squeezing it into the D&D world
Framework
is like, yeah, we know he's a rogue, but he's an assassin, but does that necessarily make him an assassin? Because then again, an assassin is anyone that kills people for money.
He's actually more of a thief. Well, I mean, so by like what he does, like he takes on risky jobs. Assassination, it doesn't seem to be his main thing, but some people might have, and you can play the game any way you want. Like, you can go through entirely stealth mode and not have to deal with threats for the most part if you're good enough in that regard. Or sometimes you mess up and you have to figure out how to kill the enemy or get away from the enemy. But yeah, he does roof running really well, so that speaks to the thief archetype. He does, from surprise, be able to kill people by snapping their necks or whatever.
Now, that could just be sneak attack damage.
It could.
be
And
crits,
these could be like not super high level, because the way he defeats the troll was by triggering a trap for the trailer, not by actually fighting a friggin' troll, because he probably doesn't have it in him. But really, he also has this magic from Amber in the world. Like, it's a limited resource, which that could work for spell slots. So I'm actually settling on Arcane Trickster, because I think illusionary, like he makes a clone of himself and things like that, that could just be illusion magic, and he does invisibility, so everything he does is very trickery.
I can totally get behind that.
Yeah, and we have other ways to kind of address how athletic he is and kind of bring him more in line with the thief when we get to the feats section anyway. So what about you know more about the game? You've looked into the game far more than I have, or Ted has, but what about backgrounds?
Right. So he's like an anomalous thing, and criminal is probably the only thing that really jumps
That's
out.
where I would have. That's where I would have leaned towards.
He's like a professional criminal.
Well, that's exactly where we go then.
Yeah.
So I didn't know, like, from looking at it, from talking to you, if he was actually an assassin or not. So I was like, well, could he be a guild artisan that belongs to the Assassin's Guild? But yeah, but then my leanings were as criminal as well, so that definitely works.
Yeah. Well, and also too, anybody that takes like within criminal, there's an assassin like choice of specialty and things like that too. So that's pretty well defined. As far as stat placement, we're gonna go with an 8 in strength probably. Highest dex we can possibly have with that 15. I don't know. Like his con's probably a 12.
Going from the trailers, I'd give him a decent charisma.
I think at 10 because he's not like negotiating with people. He just has some accomplice.
Oh no! I watched the trailers and I really liked him.
Yeah, right. So that aside, I would go with a 10 charisma. We put the 12 in con, so we have a 13 and a 14 left.
If you want to look at mechanically, I would put the 13 in the con to get the bump to bring it up to 14.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. But then I would say 14 intelligence and then 13 wisdom because he's navigating
12
lots of
wisdom.
12 wisdom. Oh yeah, because we
Put the 13
switched,
in the con.
Yeah, we flipped those 12 wisdom. But yeah, so basically he's navigating lots of complex things. So I think he's a pretty intelligent little goblin.
But you still have to put something in dexterity as well. And he's
put
also
the 15.
Oh, the 15. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so the goblins, they innately get, what, a +2?
2 to dex and 1 to con.
Yeah.
So 15 dex, 14 intelligence.
Odd stat.
Yeah. Well, yeah, with the +2, like maybe 14, and we put that, so you could have a 16 con. So 16 dex, 16 con.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's...
He was an orc at some point.
yeah,
So,
if we're paying attention to like what's the optimal thing, may as well go for that.
All right, so
Yeah.
16 dex, 16
And he is
con.
kind of like a super character. So
Yeah.
there is that. Like, you figure the way video games are put together, the protagonist is usually pretty good and only gets better. So he's well above average.
The only problem with putting our 8 into strength is while yes we are taking the athlete feat later on, which that's going to happen.
Spoiler alert.
It is a strength-based skill, and if we have a -1 to that, even with a decent proficiency,
We
it's
get
still-
expertise later on, though. Like, I think he's a fairly high, and that's to speak also to a video game character being just awesome. He's going to be starting out the gate when you get to play him a relatively high level character, like at least an 8th or 10th level character, right?
Although, if I looked more into the game and revisited how he became went from being an orc to a goblin, maybe intelligence or wisdom needs to be revisited. If he did something that, put him in that predicament.
Yeah. That's true. He does do lots of risky things.
So we do eventually get reliable talent, which is incredibly helpful for that. And then by 6th level, we have four things of expertise.
Yeah.
So would that be stealth, acrobatics, and athletics?
And so that's
And thieves' tools.
And thieves' tools.
Okay.
Well, or perception. Actually, perception could be another thing. So I don't know. Like I didn't actually see him do much disarming of traps, but that could also be part of the puzzle parts of the game.
Or possibly lose acrobatics as an expertise.
Yeah.
Because is he a gymnast? Like, at least with taking athletics, you're compensating for a weak spot. So it probably makes more sense. But, unless he's doing a lot of flipping and rolling and, doing it exceptionally well, at Olympic level, then expertise might not even make that much sense anyway.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. That's true. We can insulate buffer for a weakness because a -1 versus expertise, and then once we get reliable talent, we're just set.
If you're proficient in acrobatics and you have a decent stat, you're still good at it.
Yeah.
So I think that definitely works. So moving on to feats, we had talked about, definitely athlete is one of them to make him better at climbing and running around on rooftops and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. He's always like hanging off of ledges, taking cover or things like that. So doing and swinging from ropes like Tarzan.
So there's also the Skulker feat that might be handy for someone that attacks from the shadows often. Especially, it didn't look like he was using much ranged attacks.
No,
so it's probably not going on there. They show him using alchemy supplies, so I don't know if that would speak to a talent that he has, or they're just stuff that he purchases and uses as tools of the trade or not. But
he can make some stuff. He like crafts some things. So I don't know if that comes into just things that's an alternate explanation for some of his spellcasting with Arcane Trickster.
Or he's got a level of Artificer.
Yeah, or we get into a little bit of crafting.
Yeah, well, he doesn't necessarily need a level of Artificer. He could literally just have the Alchemy Lab as a tool proficiency.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he's being a criminal and a rogue, you're going to get Thieves' Tools twice, so you can trade one of those out.
That's true.
For an alchemist set.
For something that maybe makes more sense.
Perfect.
So yeah, you could go there. So are there any other feats that you would see him, like right off the top of my head? I'm going athlete, possibly Skulker.
Yeah.
Is Skulker in the PHP, or is that one of the unearthed arcanas?
It's in the PHP. Yeah, I believe that's one where you attack from concealment and cover. If you miss, they don't necessarily see you right away. There's also, what is it? There's the Dungeoneering one.
Dungeon Delver. That does make kind of sense because the game engine probably, if you walk past something, you probably just notice it. So Dungeon Delver, and then we just take stat adjustments for other
levels.
Yeah.
Well, even if you're saying 10th level, 4, 8, 10.
Yeah.
It would be three options, whether you wanted to go with feats or you wanted to go with stat adjustments. But Dungeon Delver or Athlete, Dungeon Delver, and Skulker, that would take you up to 10th level.
Yeah, right. And then beyond, you're like enhancing his stats.
Yes.
Depending upon what magics the Arcane Trickster has access to and what you get in the game, Magic Initiate might wind up giving you something that's outside of that typical spectrum. I don't know how much magic he's using in the game. It does seem to be all illusory and shadowy, but if there's something that might dip outside of that.
That's only going to give you first level access to first level spells and cantrips. So I feel like anything that he's not getting from that Arcane Trickster would be above and beyond. So that's not even going to come into play.
Okay. Yeah, it could be like a magic item or something that he has, expendable magic items.
So are you guys going to get this game? Are you going to play this game? Is it on your list? Let us know in the comments below while you're at it. Like, share, and subscribe.
You can follow us over on Instagram.
You can check us out on nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.